The history of the Burchfield family in Cades Cove is kind of a hidden treasure, if you might, because a lot of people do not know of the Burchfield family. So today I thought that I would do a quick video on this wonderful family that deserves just as much attention as the Tiptons and the Olivers and all the other families that have houses still that can be seen inside of Cades Cove today. So as far as I can tell, the history behind the Burchfield family starts with Robert Burchfield. Robert was born in 1781 in Morganton, Burke, North Carolina. His father, Nathan Burchfield, was 34, and his mother, Auberella Wilson, was 31. If I'm wrong, I apologize. He married Elizabeth Hill on March the 1st, 1805, in Burke, North Carolina. They were the parents of at least 8 sons and 7 daughters. He lived in Burke, North Carolina, along with his wife and their family for about 10 years. The family later moved to Blount, Tennessee, where they lived for 10 years as well, and he continued on living there until he passed away on October 29, 1860, inside of Cades Cove, at the age of 79. The family's children's names that I could find while researching was only 6, but I know there was more than that, was John Burchfield, Martin Russell Burchfield, Charles Burchfield, Noah Burchfield, Susan Burchfield, and Drury Burchfield. Noah Burchfield was born on March the 1st, 1849, inside of Cades Cove, located in Blount County, Tennessee. His father was Robert Burchfield, was 68, and his mother, Mary Gregory, was 37 at his birth. He married Sarah Jane Brown on February the 24th, 1869, in Blount County, Tennessee. They were the parents of at least 4 sons and 6 daughters. Noah lived in Cades Cove for about 50 years in the Civil District of 16. He passed away on December the 23rd, 1934, inside of Cades Cove. Noah passed away at the age of 85. Noah is not all of the Burchfield clan, though, that lived inside of Cades Cove. His brother John also lived inside of Cades Cove with his wife Mary. They were the parents of at least 5 sons and 1 daughter. He continued to live inside of Cades Cove in the 1850s until he passed away in 1892. However, there was one Burchfield sibling that did not remain inside of Cades Cove after being born. Martin Russell Burchfield was born in February of 1845 inside of Cades Cove. His father was Robert Burchfield and his mother was Mary Gregory. He later on married Sarah Barnes on January the 15th, 1866 in Pulaski, Kentucky. They were the parents of at least 4 sons and 6 daughters. He continued to live in Kentucky until he passed away in 1910. His brother Charles would also follow in his footsteps and move to Kentucky as well. The only other siblings to live inside of Cades Cove, along with their other brother, was Drury Burchfield and Susan Burchfield. Susan went on to later marry James Valentine Cable on August 31st, 1869 in Blount County, Tennessee, also in Cades Cove. They were the parents of at least 4 sons and 5 daughters and continued to live in Cades Cove until she passed away in 1911. Drury Burchfield stayed in and remained in Cades Cove along with his siblings, and to my knowledge of research, he was not married and remained a bachelor, and he remained in Cades Cove until he passed away in 1891. For one of the main characters of the Burchfield clan, now we're going to talk about the so-called murderer, Uncle Sam Burchfield. Uncle Sam Burchfield was accused of being the murderer of George Powell Jr. as reported in the Marable Times. Burchfield was later arrested, and the subsequent trial had been sparked by new evidence of his involvement in the murder and had occurred at the Powell home in Chestnut Flats 2 years prior. A letter written by Burchfield's son-in-law, Hall Hughes, who was serving time in federal prison for the murder, claimed that it was in fact Burchfield who had pulled the trigger that fateful December afternoon. and prosecutors had reportedly gathered 16 witnesses, at least initially, who could testify to Burchfield's various illegal activities related to distilling moonshine and whiskey. Nevertheless, Burchfield was let off the hook, and not only that, he continued to enjoy a certain time of being a regional celebrity due to this news that broke Cades Cove. According to an article, Burchfield was the oldest moonshiner at the age of 70. If the date on this article is correct, he was actually 60 years old, not 70. He had been raided many times by the revenue agents, but only convicted once and given a 6-month sentence in the county jail. 2 men informed the revenue agents on the location of Burchfield's still, but they did not live long enough to enjoy their reward. They were quietly put out of their way, but no one attached to the Burchfield to their taking off was blamed. The writer of the article went on to say the imprisonment was a terrible ordeal for the free spirit of Sam Burchfield, but to him it was not a punishment for moonshining, but for being called at it. Sam's moonshine was said to be the best moonshine inside of the Smoky Mountains. With the news of the murder finally fading away and becoming past news, George's widower, Martha Gregg Powell, later went on to marry John Noah Burchfield. Obviously, she didn't blame all the Burchfields for her husband's murder. Unfortunately, she did die, though, 3 years later at the age of 39. Burchfield passed away in 1970 and is currently buried in the Cades Cove Primitive Baptist Church Cemetery.